In the flickering twilight of al-Fashir, a child clutches a soot-covered doll beside a pile of ashes where her home once stood. Mothers huddle in the corridors of the last functioning hospital, terrified that the next drone strike will claim the wounded they tend. Fathers dig graves with their own hands, burying children in the courtyards of shattered schools. For 18 months, the city endured a siege that stripped it of food, water and life. And when the gates finally fell, it wasn't liberation that entered, it was annihilation. Witnesses speak of men dragged from their homes, women and children executed in the streets, hospitals shelled as civilians cowered inside. The UN calls it a campaign of extermination. Human Rights Watch calls it what it is, mass murder. And behind it all stands a patron whose fingerprints stain every front of Sudan's war, the United Arab Emirates. If the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, are the visible executioners, Abu Dhabi is the invisible hand that guides them. It has poured cash, weapons and political cover into Hamiti's war machine, igniting a conflict that has torn Sudan apart. Arms continue to reach the RSF through the porous borders of Chad and Libya and by air flights through UAE bases in Somaliland, fuel for a war that has displaced millions and hollowed out an entire nation. Even British military equipment has found itself into RSF hands, exposing the West's silent complicity in the crimes it pretends to condemn. The RSF story begins in the shadows of Sudan's past, born under Omar al-Bashir as a paramilitary arm of state repression forged in Darfur's massacres, and now led by a camel trader turned warlord, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, known as Hamiti. He rose from enforcing genocide in Darfur to sitting at the heart of Sudan's Transitional Council, a warlord dressed in a suit. And when that fragile balance collapsed in April 2023, it wasn't just a political rift, it was Sudan devouring itself. But make no mistake, this isn't a civil war born of chaos, it's a war engineered from abroad. Since the 2021 uprising that toppled al-Bashir, the UAE has worked relentlessly to sabotage Sudan's revolution, arming Hamiti, financing his militias, and turning his Janjaweed killers into the spearhead of Abu Dhabi's regional ambitions. A Middle East Eye investigation revealed how this support operates. A clandestine network of airlifts, arms and mercenaries. In Somalia's port city of Bosaso, Emirati cargo planes marked hazardous land and depart under cover of night, part of a covert operation funneling weapons and fighters into Sudan. Colombian mercenaries recruited by UAE-based private firms now fight under RSF command. This is not proxy war by accident, it is proxy war by design. And Sudan isn't the UAE's first experiment in ruin. The same forces were once exported to Yemen, where tens of thousands of Sudanese fighters fought and died under Emirati command. The same Janjaweed who torched Darfur were shipped off to torch Yemen. Since the Arab Spring, the UAE under Mohammed bin Zayed has built its foreign policy on one principle: no democracy shall survive. It has bankrolled coups, armed militias and fueled proxy wars to suffocate every Arab revolution before it breathes. It bankrolled Sisi's coup in Egypt. It sponsored Khalifa Haftar's assault on Tripoli, violating a UN arms embargo to flood Libya with drones and attack helicopters. It cheered Qais Said's power grab in Tunisia, snuffing out the Arab world's last fragile democracy. Everywhere the fingerprints are the same: bankroll autocrats, fracture nations, suffocate freedom. And while Sudan burned, another stage was being prepared in Gaza. Since April 2025, Israel has been razing eastern Rafah. Over 28,000 buildings destroyed, 90% of the city wiped from the map. The goal? To build a so-called humanitarian city to house 600,000 Palestinians, a concentration camp with better branding. And guess who's building the infrastructure for it? The United Arab Emirates. Under an operation code named Gallant Night 3, the UAE has built 6 desalination plants in Egypt's Al Arish, boasting a combined capacity to serve 600,000 people, the same number Israel plans to imprison in its new safe zone, humanitarian optics, ethnic cleansing reality. And as Israel bombed Gaza into dust, Abu Dhabi quietly kept the supply lines open. When the Houthis disrupted Red Sea routes, Israel began transporting goods from India via the UAE to bypass the siege. And when most allies suspended flights to Tel Aviv, Emirati carriers kept flying, the only ones still landing at Ben Gurion, a literal lifeline for Israel during genocide. This partnership is not merely logistical, it's ideological. Emirati and Israeli networks work in tandem, even coordinating online propaganda to sanitize their wars in Sudan and Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli defense firms like Controp set up shop in Abu Dhabi, cementing a two-way pipeline of money, surveillance tech and repression. All the while, UAE sells itself as a shining example for the region, a modern state, a model for the Arabs to follow. But strip away the skyscrapers, the bling and the glitz and the PR campaigns. What remains is a machine, authoritarian, repressive, materialistic and merciless, a mirage of prosperity built on ruin. The Emirates no longer acts alone. It has become Israel's most significant regional partner, an accomplice in a shared project of fragmentation. Together they invest in chaos, pit sect against sect, tribe against tribe, and turn nations into fiefdoms over which Israel reigns supreme. The spoils are obvious: Sudan's gold, Libya's oil, Yemen's ports, Gaza's land, all flowing through Emirati channels, all repackaged as investments. For Israel, the goal is domination through division. For the UAE, it's borrowed power, the illusion of empire through servitude to one. But every illusion burns out, and the fires the Emirates has kindled in Sudan, in Libya, in Yemen, in Gaza will not burn out with forever, because every arsonist, sooner or later, meets their own blaze, and those who build power on flames always end by being consumed by them.